Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Reading with Reese. I've got some Jack Reacher for us today, and I've put the camera back like this because I'm going to upload to YouTube as well. So any of the longer ones that I do on here will go on YouTube. Well, most of them, if not all of them, should end up going on YouTube. I'll try and make my name the same. I haven't made it yet, but hopefully it'll be Reading with Reese OG. I'll put it in my bio anyway, so doesn't matter. But without further ado, let's get started. We're on page 331. Showing the foundation's expenditures. See that, he said. It's incredible. That's what they're spending. I looked at it. The sheet contained a huge figure. I nodded. Maybe a lot more than that, I said. I've been down here 5 days, right? Prior to that, I was all over the States for 6 months. Prior to that, I was all over the world. Margrave is by far the cleanest, best maintained, most manicured place I've ever seen. It's better looked after than the Pentagon or the White House. Believe me, I've been there. Everything in Margrave is either brand new or else perfectly renovated. It's completely perfect. It's so perfect, it's frightening. That must cost an absolute fortune. He nodded. And Margrave is a very weird place, I said. It's deserted most of the time. There's no life. There's practically no commercial activity in the whole town. Nothing ever goes on. Nobody's earning any money. He looked blank, didn't follow. Think about it, I said. Look at Eno's, for example. Brand new place, gleaming, state-of-the-art diner, but he never has any customers. I've been in there a couple of times. There were never more than a couple of people in the place. The waitresses outnumbered the customers. So how is Eno paying the bills? The overhead? The mortgage? Same goes for everywhere in town. Have you ever seen lines of customers rushing in and out of any of the stores? Finley thought about it, shook his head. Same goes for this barber shop, I said. I was in here Sunday morning and Tuesday morning. The old guy said they'd had no customers in between. No customers in 48 hours. I stopped talking then. I thought about what else the old guy had said. That gnarled old barber. I suddenly thought about it in a new light. The old barber, I said. He told me something. It was pretty weird. I thought he was crazy. I asked him how they make a living with no customers. He said they don't need customers to make a living because of the money they get from Kleiner Foundation. So I said, what money? He said $1,000. He said all the merchants get it. So I figured he meant some kind of a business grant, $1,000 a year, right? Finley nodded. Seemed about right to him. I was just chatting, I said, like you do in the barber's chair. So I said $1,000 a year is okay, but it's not going to keep you from the wolf. It's not going to keep the wolf from the door. Something like that, right? You know what he said then? He shook his head and waited. I concentrated on remembering the old guy's exact words. I wanted to see if he would dismiss it as easily as I had done. He made it sound like a big secret, I said, like he was way out on a limb even to mention it. He was whispering to me. He said he shouldn't tell me, but he would, because I knew his sister. Do you know his sister? Finley asked, surprised. No, I don't, I said. He was acting very confused. On Sunday, I'd been asking him about Blind Blake, you know, the old guitar player, and he said his sister had known the guy 60 years ago. From that, he'd got mixed up. Must have thought I said I knew his sister. So what is the big secret? He said. He said it wasn't $1,000 a year, I said. He said it was $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week? Finley said. A week? Is that possible? I don't know, I said. At the time, I assumed the old guy was crazy, but now I think he was just telling the truth. 1,000 a week, he said again. That's a hell of a business grant. That's $52,000 a year. That's a hell of a lot of money, Reacher. I thought about it, pointed at the total on Gray's audit. They'd need figures like that, I said. If this is how much they're spending, they need figures just like that to get rid of it all. Finley was pensive, thinking it through. They've bought the whole town, he said, very slowly, very quietly. They've bought the whole town for $1,000 a week, here and there. Right, I said. The Kleiner Foundation has become the golden goose. Nobody will run the risk of killing it. They all keep their mouths shut and look away from whatever needs looking away from. Right, he said. The Kleiners could get away with murder. I looked at him. Have they got away with murder? They have got away with murder, I said. So what do we do about it? Finley said. First, we figure out exactly what the hell they're doing, I said. He looked at me like I was crazy. We know what they're doing, right? They're printing a shitload of funny money up in that warehouse. I shook my head at him. No, they're not, I said. There's no serious manufacture of counterfeit money in the US. Joe put a stop to that. The only place it happens is abroad. So what's going on? Finley asked. I thought this was all about counterfeit money. Why else would Joe be involved? Roscoe looked over at us from the bench in the window. Is it all about counterfeit money? She said. I know exactly what it's all about. Every last little detail. She held up Gray's file in one hand. Part of the answer's in here, she said. Then she picked up the Barber's daily newspaper with the other hand. And the rest of the answer is in here, she said. Finley and I joined her on the bench, studied the file she'd been reading. It was a surveillance report. Gray had hidden out under the highway cloverleaf and watched the truck traffic in and out of the warehouse. 32 separate days. The results were carefully listed in 3 parts. On the first 11 occasions, he'd seen 1 truck a day incoming from the south, arriving early in the morning. He'd seen outgoing trucks all day long, headlining north and west. He'd listed the outgoing trucks by destination according to their license plates. He must have been using field glasses. The list of destinations was all over the place, a complete spread from California all the way up and over to Massachusetts. Those first 11 days, he'd logged 11 incoming trucks and 67 outgoing, an average of a truck a day coming in, 6 going out. Small trucks, maybe a ton of cargo in a week. The first section of Gray's log covered the first calendar year. The second section covered the second calendar year. He'd hid out on 9 separate occasions. He'd seen 53 outgoing trucks, the same 6 a day as before, with a similar list of destinations. But the log of incoming trucks was different. In the first half of the year, 1 truck a day was coming in, like normal. But in the second half of the year, the deliveries picked up. They built up to 2 trucks a day incoming. The final 12 days of his surveillance were different again. They were all from the final 5 months of his life, between last fall and February. He was still logging about 6 trucks a day going out to the same wide spread of destinations, but there was no incoming trucks listed at all. None at all. From last fall, stuff was being moved out, but it wasn't coming in. So? Finley asked Roscoe. She sat back and smiled. She had it all figured. It's obvious, right? She said. They're bringing counterfeit money into the country. It's printed in Venezuela, some place Kleiner set up alongside his new chemical place there. It comes in by boat and they're hauling it up from Florida to the warehouse in Margrave. Then they're trucking it north and west up to the big cities. LA, Chicago, Detroit, New York, Boston. They're feeding it into the cash flows in the big cities. It's an international counterfeit money distribution network. It's obvious, Finley. Is it? He said. Of course it is, she said again. Think of Sherman Stoller. He drove up and down Florida to meet the boat coming in from the sea at Jacksonville Beach. He was on his way out there to meet the boat when he got picked up for speeding on the bridge, right? That's why he was so agitated. That's why he got the fancy lawyers out so fast, right? Finley nodded. It all fits, she said. Think of a map of the States. The money is printed in South America, comes here by sea, lands in Florida, flows up the southeast, and then sort of branches out from Margrave, flows on out to LA in the west, up to Chicago in the middle, New York and Boston in the east. Separate branches, right? It looks like a candelabra or a menorah. Menorah. You know what a menorah is? Sure, Finley said. It's that candlestick Jewish people use. By the way, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Right, she said. That's how it looks on a map. Florida to Margrave is the stem. Then the individual arms lead out and up to the big cities. LA, across to Chicago, across to Boston. It's an import network, Finley. She was giving him plenty of help. Her hands were tracing menorah shapes in the air. The geography sounded okay to me. It made sense. An import flow rolling north in trucks up from Florida. It would need to use that knot of highways around Atlanta to branch itself out and head for the big cities in the north and west. The menorah, I can't say that word, idea was good. The left-hand arm with the candlestick would have to be bent out horizontally to reach LA, like somebody had dropped the thing and somebody else had accidentally stepped on it. But the idea made sense. Almost certainly, Margrave itself was the pivot. Almost certainly that warehouse was the actual distribution centre. The geography was right. Using a sleepy nowhere place like Margrave as the distribution centre would be smart, and they would have a huge amount of available cash, that was for sure. Forged cash, but it would spend just the same, and there was a lot of it. They were shipping a ton a week. It was an industrial scale operation, huge. It would explain the Kleiners Foundation's massive spending. If they ever ran short, they could just print some more. But Finlay still wasn't convinced. What about the last 12 months, he said. There's been no import flow at all. Look at Gray's list. The incoming deliveries didn't happen. They stopped exactly a year ago. Sherman Stoller got laid off, right? There's been nothing coming up for a year, but they're still distributing something. There were still 6 trucks a day going out, nothing coming in, but 6 trucks a day going out. What does that mean? What kind of an import flow is that? Roscoe just grinned at him and picked up the newspaper. The answer's in here, she said. It's been in the papers since Friday. The Coast Guard, last September. They started their big operation against smuggling, right? There was a lot of advanced publicity. Kleiner must have known it was coming, so he built up a stockpile ahead of time. See Gray's list? For the 6 months before last September, he doubled the incoming deliveries. He was building up a stockpile in the warehouse. He's kept on distributing it all year. That's why they've been panicking about exposure. They've been sitting there on top of a massive stockpile of counterfeit money for a year. Now the Coast Guard is going to abandon its operation, right? So they can start importing again as usual. That's what's going to happen on Sunday. That's what poor Molly meant when she said we have to get in before Sunday. We have to get in the warehouse while the last of the stockpile is still in there. Right, we will leave it there for now. So we have gone on to chapter 22. So we will stop it there at page 339, chapter 22. So good night, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.